As many Bulls fans are waiting to see what the Chicago Bulls do at the trade deadline, if they do anything, it seems like we're getting more and more information about what value the Chicago Bulls have for a few of their players. Today, according to Joe Cowley, we now know what the Chicago Bulls are looking for Lonzo Ball out in the trade market. We're going to talk about all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. So we have an update on Lonzo Ball and what the Chicago Bulls could be looking for him at the trade deadline, saying this. A solid few next weeks from Ball could start generating some interest, especially because he's working on an expiring contract. And all the Bulls will be looking to do is swap an expiring contract as well as grabbing a few possible second rounders in the deal. So it seems like right now the Bulls have 2 second-round picks as the value for Lonzo Ball. And when you consider how Lonzo has had a positive impact, I've gone over it before per cleaning the glass. You know, we know that the raw stats for Lonzo haven't been great, right? He hasn't been shooting well at all over the last few games. But when he's on the court, the Bulls have a positive point differential of plus 13. When per 100 possessions, the Bulls are scoring 7.7 points more per 100 possessions when he's on the court as well. He's also having when he's out on the court, the team is shooting 3% better effective field goal shooting percentage. And their turnovers go down by 3.2%. On the flip side, looking at the defensive side of things, opposing teams are scoring 5.3 points worse per 100 possessions when Lonzo's on the court, and they're shooting the ball 2% less as far as effective field goal shooting percentage, and their turnover percentage goes up a full percent when Lonzo's on the court. There's no way to shape it, right? Lonzo is making a positive impact for this team, and we just got from Lonzo as well yesterday of him saying that he feels like the 20-minute restriction is really good for him because he feels like he can do a lot to help his team in that. And then the 20-minute restriction is probably going to stay there for a while. And so the Bulls are reportedly hoping that as he keeps playing better, that they can net back 2 second-round picks and an expiring contract for Lonzo Ball. When you add into that what we kind of know with Zach, they want a young player and a first-round pick, whether it's protected or not. For Nikola Vucevic, reportedly the value is at a first-round pick for Nikola Vucevic as well, even though we heard that the market kind of dictated that it was that it could be 2 second-round picks. So, you know, things like that are all coming along. And so when you kind of bring all the recent trade rumors together for the Chicago Bulls, right? You add this one to Lonzo of 2 second-round picks and an expiring contract. Zach LaVine, we know that one. We know that the Denver's also reportedly interested, but the Bulls don't want Zeke Naji's contract back. And then also yesterday, something that I missed is reportedly the Suns are looking to make a trade, and they actually do have Nikola Vucevic as well as one of the players that they could be interested in bringing in to be their starting center as well. So, for it to look like 2 weeks ago that many of the Bulls players had no value on the trade market, it really does seem like that's something that's starting to shift. Now, all of this is all rumors right now. Take it with a huge grain of salt. As I've said before, more than likely, nothing gets done, right? I think that's just a safe place to be in when you kind of talk about these things. The most likely scenario is once you start hearing rumors, this shit doesn't get done. But if the Bulls are able to flip these assets, right? Let's say they get the 2 seconds for Lonzo. Let's say they get a first-round pick for Nikola Vucevic. Let's say they get a first and a player back for Zach LaVine. To be able to flip those 3 players and to get two first-round picks and 2 second-round picks, that's a pretty good haul depending on what else happens in that place. Now, I know that a lot of my Bulls fans are not going to be for this. And I know that there are a lot of Bulls fans, I see it every day, that try to come up with trades actually to add to this team so this team can try to go on a run. But it seems like via what we're hearing is that the Bulls are open to moving off a lot of these veterans. And they're open to do so to try to solidify their future, right? To gain some assets back that they lost. Now, one of the big questions here that a lot of people are going to fairly have when it comes to this team is that, are the Bulls really prepared to do what it's going to take to be able to get deals done? And that's where a lot of Bulls fans' faith in this team is wavering, right? Because AK and Eversley haven't necessarily shown the ability to get deals done at the level that it needs to get done. They just have not, right? And they usually sell off on assets either too late or after the value's down, things like that. But maybe this is a different one for the Bulls, right? Maybe this is one where the Bulls do have an actual focus. It's just about the execution. And I'm at the place now with the Bulls where I am with the Bears. It's all about showing me. And unless the Chicago Bears show something, the Chicago Bulls show something that they are actually moving towards a solidified direction, I, along with many Bulls fans, are not going to fully believe it until I see it. And I think that's a fair thing to state, right? And so when you pairing it now, right, to look at everything right now, the Bulls have Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, Lonzo Ball, Torrey Craig, Javon Carter, if any team wants the ball-headed hoe. They have assets that they are looking to move and try to package together to get some things done at this trade deadline. The bigger question is will it happen, and will some of these rumored deals that we've heard actually come to fruition? And that's where some of the doubt is. That's where a lot of the doubt is, actually, right? With this team is that there's so much doubt around, is this front office actually going to pull the trigger? And if they do pull the trigger, is it going to be the right moves, right? And it's only the beginning if this team is actually able to get those draft assets, because you still got to get it right. You still got to get those draft picks right. Whether it's an unprotected first or a protected first, whatever it is, you still got to get those right. You still got to hit on them to a degree to where you're adding in talent that can actually contribute, and you're not adding in talent that sits in the G League for 2 years and then we don't hear from them at all 3 years later, right? And so that's another needle that they have to thread. After picking the direction, you got to hope that you use those assets in the correct way to actually get something done, and that's where there's a lot of doubt for Bulls fans. And so overall, like I get where a lot of Bulls fans are coming from. You got a lot of your contingent of Bulls fans that say things like, I'd rather see them add to this team, or I want to see Lonzo stick around long term. Hell, I did a video over on Locked On Bulls where I asked that question. Should Lonzo Ball stay here for the long term, right? For the long haul? And, that got met with some positivity, some negativity as far as from Bulls fans and what they think. And Lonzo has been a very injured player. Make no mistake about it. And I think at this point, right, with as many guards as the Bulls have on the roster, regardless of who you think is better or not, you got to clear some of that. And with Lonzo and his injury history, even despite the knee, yes, he has a new knee technically in there, but this is still his season almost ended this year with the wrist situation, right? So there's more than enough questions to have there to wonder if Lonzo is going to be able to stay healthy, even if the knee is not a thing. And because of that, the Chicago Bulls could be looking to get anything back that they can. And as teams are looking to add to the trade deadline, I tell you what, right? And I know it can't get done, but like if you are trying to, especially as we've heard that the Bulls don't want to take Zeke Naji, if you turn it into a 3-team trade that actually wants Lonzo, right? They take Zeke Naji's contract back as well. Maybe they get a protected first-round pick or whatever it is. Maybe that could help facilitate that deal a little bit more, right? So we'll see. And it comes down to the Bulls just managing their assets correctly, which, again, as I said, I understand why a lot of Bulls fans do not have that faith that this team is going to be able to manage those assets. And we'll see. Ultimately, we'll see. I listen, I like hearing the fact that the team is setting a value, right? And I hope that they hold true to that, right? You should have a high value. And I know some Bulls fans are going to say, well, Lonzo should get you a first round. I already know there are going to be some radicals that say that. And unfortunately, as an expiring, being out of basketball for 2.5 years, you're probably not going to get that first. But if you can get 2 seconds back, right, whether you pair that in a deal later on, whatever it is, those are assets that you can use to sweeten the pot and other things. Or AK's done a pretty good job with second-round picks. So maybe that's the case as well. Like, we'll see. And ultimately, I think that if a deal does get done, it's not going to be a deal that a lot of Bulls fans universally, like I've been saying that for a while, that's in any of the case. That's for Zoe, for Vooch, for LaVine. I don't think there is a such thing as a universal deal because every fan wants something different. You have your fans that want to see this team, or even with the Michael Porter Jr. trade, oh, this doesn't make us better. Why are we doing it, right? Even though that's technically goes for us not to be as good, right? And you're going to have your fans that look at the tank or whatever it is, and that's what their focus is on. And ultimately, it's not on the front office to try to do what we think they should do. It's up for them to do the right thing. Pick a path, pick a direction, and execute it. And if you come out on the other side of that, eventually, long term, especially if you're getting worse and trying to get long term, come out on the other side of that and it works, Bulls fans are going to rock with it, right? You may have some initial kind of discontent from Bulls fans, but ultimately it comes down to doing whatever you feel is best for the future of this Bulls team. and to get you to the place of whatever the direction or the goal that you have for this team is. And sometimes you do have to take a step back to take a longer term step forward. And the Bulls have really been a team that's been reluctant to do that. And I'm not saying that the mindset has changed yet, but it could be changing. And I guess we'll see in the future. But let me know what you guys think on all that down below. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullsCentralPod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. That's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Love you guys. Go Bulls. See red. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.